But this is the beginning, as the minister says.
This is the beginning. Okay, let me talk about State of States this morning. And again, congratulations to budgets. They have consistently been spotlighting the states and analyzing budgets and budget performances of not just of Nigeria, but also of states. Now, in this instance, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele describes the situation whereby states have more naira, have more money, yet the people are poorer as a paradox. And we can look at some of the trends in these states to begin to understand why. And that's why on this table we often talk about, when we speak about economic prosperity, we focus a lot on the center. When we talk about wealth creation, when we look at the state of the nation and state of the economy, we often look at the center. And understandably so, because a lot of responsibility is on them. However, we need to also analyze and look at some of the states and see what your governors or what the governors are doing with the resources of the people. Over time, again and again on this table, we have talked about FAC allocation. And the executive has beat their chest in this regard, saying that under a period, they have been able to increase FAC allocation to states. But beyond the increased FAC allocation, number one is that states are not spending enough on critical sectors like education and healthcare. Beyond that, we then look at some states that are not viable. Simple reason being that if FAC allocation should end or be reduced, the states are in trouble. In fact, the states will be comatose. Only about 28 states are not able to be independent of FAC allocation. Whenever we have election cycles coming and we get the opportunity to interview prospective candidates, one of the major questions we ask them is, how are you going to increase your internally generated revenue? And they come with all manner of plans and promises and talk about how they are going to do X, Y, and Z to make their states more prosperous. But what we then see down the line is that a number of these governors are not creative when it comes to generating revenue. And so we need to probe this very carefully and not just allow them to get away with just receiving money from the center, cap in hand, and not being able to create. A number of times, it's not because the states are incapable of generating revenue. It is just a dereliction of duty by the leadership, and that is the governor of the state. So let me just look at some of the states that have said to have come up tops. We have Lagos State, Enugu State, Anambra State, Kwara State, and Abia State. A case study, a curious case, or an interesting case is the case of Enugu State that is said to have increased its revenue base in the time under review by 381%. In fact, in the first year in office in 2023, the governor, Governor Peter Mba, had increased, he met 30 billion naira, had increased it from 30 billion naira to 37 billion naira. Beyond that, as at now, IGR is 180.05 billion naira. We need to look at these cases to understand what worked. We have talked about the fact that state governors always say that, oh, they don't have enough resources, there's not a lot in their hands. But when we see a success story, then we can understand that it is possible. So we can hear the story around, oh, the devaluation of the naira, or things are not working, but other states are doing it. As parents would ask their children, do they have two heads? One of the things that they've said is responsible for this increase is employment of technology. And what they've said with technology is that it's been able to plug the leakages. So it's not that money is not coming in. It is that the money is not accounted for. And there's massive corruption in this state. Hence, the people do not get to benefit from the impact of this revenue generated. The other part is to widen the tax net. And we all often talked about this.